Welcome to part 2 of this 2-video series on Ops Spec C055 and derived alternate minimums. But first, a quick shout out thanks to our video sponsor, listener.io, where pilots can seek support through their online counseling service. And use code LAURA for 15% off your first session, and use my promo code and link in the video description. Now, if you have not watched part 1 of the video about derived alternate minimums Ops Spec C055, you really need to go back and watch that video. I will wait here while you go watch the video because it really unpacks some important key features of that Ops Spec. Now that you're back, let's do a different example. Let's look at Kennedy, JFK. Lots of approaches, lots of runways, lots of ILSs. If an airport has several ILSs with different identifiers going to different suitable runways, I would prefer to use 2 ILSs. And let me show you why. So I've had some weather here for JFK. I've got a TAF that shows just variable winds at 5 knots. Cool. I have a METAR that shows the wind is out 230 at 5 knots. All right, that's good. For 737, the max tailwind, probably 10 knots. At least that's what my fake airline that I use for dispatch class uses. So I can use a approach to runway 22 left. I could do 22 right. I could do 4 left. I could do 4 right. So what I'm going to do as a dispatcher is I'm going to look for 2 ILSs. Hopefully I can find 2 with a DA of 200 feet and both a visibility of half a mile. Okay, so I've actually already pulled them up. Guess what? They exist. So if we look at that, we can see here's the ILS to runway 4 right, a 200-foot DA and a half a mile visibility. And let's take a look at the ILS to runway 22 left, also a DA of 200 feet and half a mile visibility. Sweet! This is my favorite scenario as the dispatcher. As long as the wind allows it, then even with that little bitty tailwind, it's within my airplane limitations, I can do the 2 navaid rule. So I'm going to write down, we got ILS and ILS. Those are 2 different navaids because they have 2 different identifiers. I know they're the same type. I know they're both an ILS, but notice they have 2 different identifiers. One is IJFK and the other is IIWY. And they both have a 200-foot DA, and they both have a visibility of a half mile. Cool. All right, I love it. I love it as a dispatcher. So at this point, I'm going to add we can try the 1 navaid rule. It's kind of stupid because basically we add 400 feet to one of them and add 1 mile to one of them. Okay, I can do that in my head. 600-foot ceiling and 1.5 mile visibility. Okay, but let's do the 2 navaid rule because it's so much better. I'm going to add 200 feet to the higher of the 2. Well, since they're both 200 DA, that's easy. It's 400-foot ceiling. And I'm going to add half a mile to the higher of the 2, but both the visibilities are a half. So, yay, we have a better scenario here to use the 2 navaid rule with 2 ILSs that both have the 200-foot DA and both have half a mile visibility, 2 different identifiers, 2 different suitable runways, and I get a ceiling requirement of 400 feet, visibility of 1 statute mile to use JFK as my alternate. Yay, it's a solid choice. Okay, but let's look at what happens if the wind is involved with this. All right, so here's a scenario. I changed the weather on us. The wind is now 260 at 25 knots. The TAF has the wind at 290 at 25, gusting to 40. Okay. We cannot land on runway 4. That is way too much tailwind. We cannot plan to land on runway 4 anymore. We're going to have to use 22 right and 22 left. So, but that's good because JFK has 2 parallel runways, both aligned with 22 right, and they still both have an ILS. Yay! So let's write down that information. There is one little problem, though, that I want to point out. A little bit different. This is the ILS chart for 22 right. Notice my DA is not just 200 feet, it's now 250. And notice my visibility requirement is 3/4 of a mile. I'm not going to look at RVR for this. I'm never going to look at this because we base it on the visibility requirement in statute miles when we're doing this calculation. So even though I've got two different suitable runways and two ILSs, they unfortunately don't both have a DA of 200 feet. The ILS 22 right has a DA of 250, which means I've got to round up to 300 because of that note that we looked at the very beginning. The visibility is required of 3/4 of a mile. So let's go back to my Ops Spec table. I can run the one navade rule. I would run it on the ILS 22 left, but let's run the two navade rule. Again, we have to add the 200-foot DA to the higher of the two. Well, that would be adding it to 300 feet. And I have to add 1/2 mile to the higher of the two visibilities. That would be 3/4 mile. So in this example, with the worst wind, sadly, I still would like to use the two navade rule. I just can't get it as low as 400-foot ceiling and visibility of 1 mile. But at least I got a 500-foot ceiling and 1.25 miles out of it. So that's pretty good. Even with that wind and requiring me to use 22 left and 22 right, it still isn't bad. Okay. The lowest visibility and ceiling that you are ever going to get with this type of using this navade rule is 401. That's unless your air carrier has authorization to do Cat 2 or Cat 3 or other things. I'm not unpacking that in this video. This is just an entry-level video. All right, so let's do one more example of my home airport, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Yay! Okay, but let's throw a NOTAM on here. Okay, I'm not going to mess with wind. We'll pretend the wind is calm. I'm going to throw a NOTAM on that says that runway 927 is closed. All right, so once again, I'm starting off looking at my 10-9. This is a 10-9A page because it doesn't have a runway diagram on it. But let's look at the bottom and see, okay, we have just one NA, and that says it's for other. I'm not going to worry about that because there's nothing listed. No other approaches other than what's listed is usable. But apparently, if we throw out runway 927, we do have an ILS on runway 36. That's good. We've got some notes about authorized only when local weather is available. That's important. We need to make sure local weather's available. No NOTAMs about that. We also need to make sure that control tower is operating because it says authorized only when tower is operating, unless we have an Ops Spec authorizing that, using it if we don't have the tower operating. But looks like we've got an ILS and we've got several other approaches. This time we have some VOR approaches and a localizer DME back course approach. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff going on, but if a NOTAM closes a runway, we can't consider it. So I've pulled up the approaches that we are going to consider, and let's take a look at these. Okay, got an ILS. I always want to start with the ILS. We're going to capture all this stuff on the table. So the ILS to runway 36, I can get, it looks like, with a Category C aircraft, a 200 feet, as long as we have the local altimeter setting, a 200 feet DA and 1/2 mile visibility. And the identifier for that is IOSH. Okay, that's good. All right. Now, I want to take a look at this localizer back course to runway 18. You might think that would be good. Maybe we could use that, but it's a different runway. It's not 36 and 18. Okay, it's two different runways. Problem. The localizer back course, IOSH, is the same exact identifier as the ILS, IOSH, and it's the same frequency also. Because it's the same identifier, it's the same navade, the FAA has said that we can't do that. We can't use the back course. We can't use two approaches with the same navade. So in this case, I could use the ILS or I could use the back course, but I cannot use those as two different navades. Okay. Now, the FAA also has had letters of interpretation saying if the frequency of two different ILSs is the same, but the two ILSs go to different runways and have different identifiers, that's two different navades. That is why I always have people write down the identifiers. So we're going to write down ILS 36 IOSH. I wrote down the localizer back course to IOSH. Okay. We can look at the RNAV approach to runway 18. That one could be helpful to me. So let's take a look at that. The LNAV, let's pretend we have LNAV only again. That's an MDA of 406. For a category C, it's 1 mile and 1/8. Okay, so I've wrote that down. 406 MDA rounds up to 500. Visibility is 1 1/8, rounds up to 1 1/4 miles. We can look at other approaches. I left the ILS up there. We could look at the VOR to runway 18. Let's look at that. VOR to 18 has an MDA with women. This is kind of a joke, but it's basically a fix called women. So if you can identify the fix women, it's not like if you have women on board your aircraft, you can fly lower. Okay, that's not it, but it's just a funny fix. MDA of 466 for a category C aircraft, 1 3/8. All right, let's note that on my table. So I got the VOR to 18. The identifier of the navaid is OSH. And the MDA is 466, rounds up to 500. Visibility is 1 3/8, rounds up to 1.5 miles. Okay, and then I wrote down the RNAV on there as well for 3.6. All right, tons of information, probably too much. I crossed off the localizer back course because it's the same as my ILS, and I know an ILS will get me lower, and we can probably plan to use the ILS to 3.6 and some other approach, or maybe the 1 navaid rule. If I'm going to choose, I'm going to look at the RNAV, LNAV to 18 and the ILS 3.6 because that LNAV to 18 gives me lower visibility. The VOR is okay, but it gives me 1.5 miles visibility, and the LNAV gets me down to 1 1/4. So using the 1 navaid rule, I'm going to add 400 feet to my 200-foot ILS DA. I get 600 feet. I'm going to add 1 mile to my 1/2 mile visibility on the ILS 3.6, and I get 1.5 miles. It's not bad. For one ILS, it's as low as I'm going to get. Okay. If we can use LNAV, we'll do the 2 navaid rule. Let's just see what happens. We get added 200 foot to that LNAV 18, the 500-foot MDA. That's a 700-foot ceiling. We got 1.25 miles visibility on the LNAV 18. I add 1/2 mile, I get 1.75 miles. In this case, it's honestly better to just do the ILS and do the 1 navaid rule. So we could plan the ILS 3.6 and we would have an alternate minimum to tell our crew we need a 600-foot ceiling, we need 1.5 miles visibility to use Oshkosh as the alternate if we're using the ILS 3.6. Okay, now one more scenario. If you want to stick around, let's try using LPV. Let's pretend we got LPV available. Okay, so here comes my LPV stuff. We'll bring that up. I got to revise all my tables. Okay, so I only pulled up the LPV for runway 18 because I can't do ILS 3.6 and LPV 3.6 because it's the same runway. So let's look at 18 LPV. That has a DA of 250 and a visibility of 3/4 mile. That's certainly better. That's certainly better. Okay, so running the 1 navaid rule, I didn't change anything. We can use ILS 3.6. But if we do the 2 navaid rule, I can add 200 feet to the higher of the two, ILS 3.6 or LPV 18. Okay, we add 200 feet to the 300-foot DA, and then we add 1/2 mile to my 3/4 mile visibility, the higher of the two, ILS 3.6 and the LPV 18, and I get 1.25 miles. So if I could use LPV, kind of like the previous example in Gainesville, it's better for me to use that 2 navaid rule. But if I am not able to do LPV approaches, I'm just restricted to LNAV, it would be better in this case to do the 1 navaid rule. So I want to give one more quick thank you shout out to listener.io for sponsoring this video. Check out the link, use it in my description, use the code Laura for 15% off your first session. Thank you so much for subscribing. I'm so excited to do this all updated video about derived alternate minimums. And I hope you stay tuned for more airline and aviation content about regulations explained so you can understand them. Have a great day.